Welcome to today's episode of The Growth Hack. I'm your host, Marcus Slater, and today I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about confidence hacks for entrepreneurs, especially those early entrepreneurs out there. Normally we are diving deep into analytics and marketing and growth strategies, but I truly believe that your mindset is 90% of the battle. There's a lot of things around being a problem solver. And I think we learn that through schooling and just life in general. You have a split down there, right? You have people who are fantastic at problem solving, and then others who just accept fate is what it is, right? This is what it is, and there's no turning back. If you are getting into this year, listen, I want to own my own business. You better be ready for everything to be thrown at you morning to night, right? You have to have some tough skin. You have to have the diligence of pushing through every day, of figuring out what you need to do to get to next week. It is a constant battle. It is a constant war over competitors versus what you're trying to do versus making enough money to pay the bills, pay staff, all of those things. It is not for the faint of heart, but I do think there are a lot of things that you can do to help. Or I hear all the time people are like, well, people just, they don't take me serious, right? Or I don't know how to get into these rooms with these people if they could just hear my idea. I think a lot of that just comes down to really being the power of perception. I have been blessed to be in the room with some great people at every level and at the top of their game. There's a lot of people around that table that are arguably at the top that don't know a whole lot. What they have done is they have found people, aligned with people who know a lot more than they do, and made those connections, and it's been building blocks to that. And they've used that power of perception, of confidence. Who am I? What am I here to do? And sometimes I think just pure honesty. Listen, I don't know everything, but I'm willing to learn. I can figure it out. For everyone that's getting into business, that should be your mantra. I'll figure it out. I will find a way to do X, Y, and Z no matter what. Even if I don't know how to do it, I'm going to find a way to do that. That ultimately will lead you to that table that you need to be on, right? Where you want to be in life, where you want to be in business. Really figuring out how to project confidence even when you're uncomfortable. That is what makes the difference between someone who has the potential to be great or maybe is lacking and can't do that. People buy into confidence, and it allows you to influence other people to do certain things that you want to do, whether that's ideas, a business idea, a certain marketing direction. If you can display that confidence, people can get behind you and believe that, hey, you know what you're doing, or at least you're going to make your best effort at getting there. Even if you are making them off a cliff, people will still get behind you and follow you. So for better or for worse, in that statement, you want people to follow you in that sense. A common entrepreneurial hurdle is imposter syndrome. I struggled with that for a long time of just saying, hey, I'm good, but am I really that good? I still to this day probably don't do great with that, but it's just one of those things where you have to overcome and say, I am, right? I am the best. I am good at this. I know what I'm doing. I can do X, Y, and Z. Now, there is a difference between saying that and being able to back it up. If you have not taken the time to learn your craft, to understand how to manage people, this is across the board. If you manage a team, if you're talking about your business to customer relationship, your business to new client relationship, if you have not spent the time really learning your craft and becoming comfortable in that, it's going to be pretty difficult to say, I could say today, I am the greatest NASCAR driver of all time. That is not a true statement because I'm not spending the time crafting that. I think another thing is quiet confidence. A lot of times people relate confidence with being the loudest person in the room. I often will sit in a room and just listen. I want to just observe and understand how people tick and be very calculated about what I do and understand those things. Because if I can understand how this person thinks or why they think this way or the opportunity that they're presenting, then I can be more confident in a later discussion that maybe is more one-on-one. Confidence doesn't always have to be this bolster. Hey, I'm here. I'm everything on a bag of chips. It doesn't have to be that. I would actually argue if you're extremely confident, you should be the quietest, right? I see this in engineers all the time. They know their craft like the back of their hand. There's nothing you can tell them any different. The running joke is like they all just stand and code in the corner. But that's because they don't care. They know that they are the best at what they do. And it's that similar thing. It's okay to be quiet as long as you can deliver results. And I think that's the biggest difference. Don't overpromise something that you can't deliver. But when you're in a room and you're looking for people to partner with or invest in your company, you've got to be prepared, all right? You can't replace confidence with poor preparation. Coming in and being prepared and knowing what you're talking about. Your staff needs to see that confidence as well. They need to understand, hey, they know what they're talking about. They're going to carry me along the way to get me to that point. It's okay to be quietly confident. It is not a weakness to sit in quiet. I think it's one of the best things that you can do is to go in and listen and then provide your perspective. Just like you'll hear me talk in other episodes about listening first, acting later when you're talking with new clients. The same goes there in business. Also, there's no reason to be afraid. Now, many years of early on in my career, right, you're like, I don't want to pitch this idea. Listen, the statement could not be more true today than ever was. The only thing they can say is no. That's a terrible idea. We're not going to do that. But what if it is the right idea? So don't be afraid to pitch the idea, to share your opinion. If you have surrounded yourself or put yourself in a room of true leaders and confident people who have a lot of confidence and understand what it takes to get there, they all have the same mindset as you in the sense of being open to ideas that aren't necessarily theirs. They understand what it's like to build that groundwork and to become confident. So again, it's that personal connection. No one was born being overly confident, and those are things that you learn over time. And as you have successes, naturally you gain more confidence because you say, okay, well now I am good at this, now I can do this, and now I can prove it. So that is a benefit of that. But if you're in the early stage, like you're just starting a business, confidence is your most valuable asset. And to be confident in the product that you're selling or pitching, that becomes really, really important. I also think sustaining confidence in the face of criticism. There's a number of people that I can't please because everyone has an opinion of what they think is right or wrong. I welcome feedback across the board from our clients, my own staff, sometimes the harshest, but I welcome the feedback because I want to continue to grow as a person. When you stop thinking that everything's an attack on you and we're like, you know what, how can I leverage that feedback to become a better person? That doesn't mean it's always applicable. Hopefully you're around people who are giving good criticism. Start to ask yourself the question every time you receive feedback, how can I apply this either personally or professionally? And if there's a way to apply it, do that. If there's not, set it aside and say, maybe it's not for me. If you find yourself setting aside criticism every time, then there's probably some things that you might want to work on as far as figuring out why you feel like no one's opinions matter in that sense. People oftentimes have the best perspective. How you present yourself on the outside. It's hard. It's really hard to look on the internet. It's really hard to look at the reflection and self-critique. So the way that we can really do that is from other people's suggestions and criticism to figure out, is there a way for me to do this better? Could I have approached this better? Could I have said this differently to make it connect more? All of those types of things become really, really valuable and really valued when you step into a room of bigger players. If your goal is to work in the C-suite, you really have to start to learn how to navigate those waters. And there are tons and tons of great books out there that you can read to help learn more about those things. I would say I'm a huge fan of Simon Sinek. I think that for anyone getting into business or that's managing people, maybe you just got promoted and now you're going to be managing team members and you're secretly freaking out on the inside, wondering how am I going to do this? Go and listen to some of Simon's keynotes and understanding how to best manage people in today's age, because it's vastly changed from 30 years ago. It's ever evolving as we as a species evolve. So trying to stay constant on how to not only be a better person, but be a better person for them and the people around you. So thanks for joining today, and we'll catch you on the next episode.